This is my EDU 525 Barriers project over the 6 Missouri Leadership Standards, and we'll jump right in with the first one. So I've decided to discuss the barriers as they relate to athletic administration. So here in the first standard, these will be barriers that relate to the vision, mission, and goals of an athletic program. So some common barriers for the first standard that I think exist is that the program may lack a clearly defined mission or vision, and perhaps there's a different vision in mind between the coaches and the athletic director. But there could also be fear of change from staff. People don't like change. And so some strategies for that would just be to clearly articulate the vision and mission of the program at the beginning of the year. This would allow each individual in the athletic program to feel like they have a say and that they're a valued stakeholder, and then make sure that vision is communicated in the handbook, on the website, during the coaches' meetings, and then in all of the athletic correspondence too. Sit down with the coaches and staff at the beginning of the year, ask them what ideas they'd like incorporated into the vision. It gets them involved, but then it also allows me to sit down with them and encourage them to set goals for their own programs, and then make sure those goals tie into the mission and the vision that we have for the program. The second Missouri Leadership Standard, standard number 2, involves teaching and learning. So some common barriers for the second leadership standard include ineffective coaching techniques used amongst staff, and that there's not an established culture of learning. So perhaps the staff has always done the same thing throughout the years of their coaching, and they're not really open to learning any new ideas. Some strategies to help combat this include outlining the expectations of all staff and coaches in the handbook at the beginning of the year, sitting down, answering questions, and making sure that that's clearly articulated. Another strategy is to place emphasis on professional development, which I'll highlight here in a later standard. But then to implement this, again, just having that open and honest communication with coaches and staff and sitting down with them and discussing their coaching philosophy and their techniques. You can offer suggestions and advise as you see fit. It can allow a different viewpoint for evaluations and improvements and a solid base for driving home the importance of creating a culture of learning with these coaches. Standard number 3 involves management of organizational systems and how we promote those in a safe, efficient, and effective learning environment. So some common barriers for the third standard involve micromanaging leadership and underqualified front office staff. That second one there, the underqualified staff, these individuals are typically the heart of our programs, right? They keep them up and running. And so if we have someone there that's underqualified, we're going to end up doing more work as the admin, but also so are our coaches and our assistants and our staff. So some strategies here will be to allow coaches to manage their own teams and find the best management technique that works for your program. This is likely going to be democratic, but again, when you sit down, you feel out the coaches and find a happy medium of a communication and management style that they prefer. And then allow them to manage their own teams, right? So provide them the appropriate resources to do so, whether that's through organization or professional development, hiring them the correct assistants, making sure they have money in the budget, all of those types of things, right? And then just clearly outline the duties and responsibilities of the front office personnel in the handbook. Make sure that the coaches understand that individual's role, and at the preseason coaches meeting, have that open discussion and making sure that you can have a cohesive athletic program overall. Standard number 4 is to collaborate with families and stakeholders. So some common barriers that exist with collaborating with families and stakeholders is the lack of community involvement from the athletic teams, as well as lack of effective communication between the district and the community. And some strategies to help overcome these barriers is to incorporate local businesses in advertisements, whether that's for t-shirts, for programs, or maybe you're doing fundraisers for your athletic teams. just making sure that you get the community involved. Every fall, our athletic teams create shirts to throw to the crowd and give out to communities at games, and it's all sponsored by local businesses. So that's just a really good way to get them involved and get your teams out there giving back to the community. Make flyers, send emails, create announcements about the athletic programs in the district, and send it to the community. Post it where they can read it and know what's going on. Be sure to incorporate parent meetings into the communication plan. So preseason meetings, postseason meetings with each team and with each athletic program. And then find ways to help teams get involved. As the AD, you're the face of the athletic program, and it's important to talk to the community stakeholders and find ways for your programs to get involved. And if it's going to be required, you got to find the ways that they can give back and make it accessible to all coaches and staff. Perhaps that's through Special Olympics or roadside cleanup. Maybe they're tabling for a local organization. There's hundreds of ways you can get involved in your community. Standard number 5, everyone's favorite, ethics and integrity. Some common barriers that exist for this standard are using foul language and practices in games, as well as drugs, alcohol, and any other outside factors, perhaps in the family or in the community environment that the student athlete lives in. Some strategies for this are to provide monthly programming, so guest speakers, have successful past athletes come in and talk to the current student athletes. Perhaps bring in reputable companies so that we can drive home the importance of an education. And then coaches should be reminded that they're mentors and role models for their student athletes. These students look up to you and look up to what you do with your life and how you portray yourself in the community. So sit down with the coaches and just remind them of that and ask them how they plan to help students succeed both on the court or field, but as well as in the classroom and in life. Do they need any additional resources to help them do this? That's something that we can help with in the athletic administration role. And the 6th and final Missouri Leadership Standard is professional development. There are a couple common barriers for professional development standard, one being the lack of significant funding, and the other being that the older coaching staff is probably not as interested in professional development opportunities. So some strategies to combat this barrier include finding local professional development opportunities for coaches to attend, whether that's in their own city or their own region, maybe a conference that's in a short driving distance. Those are good options. But maybe teaming up with other local coaches and carpooling or splitting the costs could also be effective. And then just finding ways to demonstrate the importance of the professional development. Perhaps it incorporates technology or statistics or videos of other programs who've seen success from a specific professional development opportunity. Having that credibility to sort of back the importance is key to getting all the coaches on board. And then look for grants, look for outside funding. There's money out there to be had for professional development, and you just have to find it. But always be sure to have a separate line item in the budget for this because it's important enough to do so.